The onset of the coronavirus pandemic has revealed many things, not the least of which is that there really is a war against Christianity in America. Initially, virtually all of America shut down as we were told 15 days to flatten the curve. Well, that was 6 months ago, and the curve was in fact successfully flattened, yet government officials in many places are still enforcing draconian restrictions with churches in the center of their sights. The First Amendment guarantees that government cannot interfere with the free exercise of religion, but that has not stopped a number of dictators in training like California Governor Gavin Newsom and Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak and many others who have seized the opportunity provided by the pandemic to specifically target churches with the most onerous restrictions. Dear friends, just as it was 2,000 years ago, those who exclusively worship God are the biggest threat to those who want to accrue power to themselves. 6 months into the lockdown, it has become obvious that forced church closures have little to do with public health. In Nevada, the government kept churches closed while allowing casinos to reopen. Gambling was decreed more essential than the worship of the living God. And these restrictions were enforced at gunpoint. One church appealed to the Supreme Court, but to no avail. Now, while each congregation should exercise its own God-directed conscience on how to meet or not meet for the safety of its members and community, these political leaders, by contrast, have exposed their true motives and forfeited their authority in this area. Biblically, we are to obey those in authority, but not when their commands contradict God's. The Bible does not teach the divine right of kings or governors or mayors. The Constitution is the highest civil law in our land, and we do not owe obedience to those who disobey it. And as Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch rightly said in his dissent, there is no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's palace over Calvary Chapel. And so with the Apostle Peter and the faithful down through the ages, we must obey God rather than men.